Yo, what is up, y'all? It's Cone back here again tonight with another episode of After the Buzzer, the show where I recap the NBA games from the night. There were a lot of really good games. When I was trying to decide what team to kind of, headline this video with, it was a struggle to pick one because there were so many great performances, both individually and team-wise, so I figured I would just talk about how great of a night of basketball it was. I'm not going to get to every single game because that would take like 30 minutes, nor will I talk about every single great performance, but it was an incredible night of basketball, and so I kind of just wanted to go through game by game and talk about some of the bigger ones. So I'm going to start off with what was probably the biggest game of the night, and that was the Lakers versus the Golden State Warriors. This is a game that before the season, many people thought might be like a Western Conference Finals preview. Instead, the Lakers are trying their best to get back to 500. The Golden State Warriors are trying to keep pace with the Phoenix Suns out in the Western Conference, trying to catch up to them for that first seed. The Suns blew out the Magic, by the way, so they didn't gain any ground, but this was a great showing from the Golden State Warriors, winning 117 to 115. The Lakers did keep this really close despite a really poor shooting night from LeBron James, who did have 26, 15, and 8 and became the all-time leading scorer, including playoffs in NBA history, which is an incredible accomplishment. It's going to be even cooler when he passes Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for regular season points in not too long, maybe at the start of 2023 or even by the end of 2022, depending on how much he continues to score. Anthony Davis in this one was just not aggressive enough, in my opinion, in the fourth quarter. He had so many possessions where, like, they didn't even have Kevon Looney in the last few minutes of the game, and he didn't even look to shoot, really. The only bucket he really got was a lob from Russell Westbrook right at the end of the game. He missed a layup at the end that was basically, like, right point blank at the rim. He did kind of take some contact, but even still, it really didn't disrupt the shot that much. Russ had a pretty good game with 19, 7, and 5. Taylor Horton-Tucker had 17, 7, and 3, but a loss in the first game that the Lakers have had post-trade deadline. Now, they did keep it close with a really good Golden State Warriors team, and the Lakers did have a decent lead in this one pretty late, and then Klay Thompson showed up. Klay in this one had his first 30-point game since coming back from his injury with 33 points. I believe he had 10 in the fourth quarter. He was on fire, hitting threes, mid-range jumpers, pretty much what Klay typically does in classic Klay fashion, heating up exactly when his team needs him. Yes, I was having flashbacks to Game 6 in 2016. Steph Curry also had 24, 5, and 8 in this one. Kevon Looney had a couple big boards. Andrew Wiggins had a big block on LeBron at the end of this game in a clutch 3. The Warriors are just such a good team. And with Klay Thompson returning to form the way he has, especially over the course of the last few games, I saw him torch the Thunder very, very recently. He's been torching teams kind of left and right as of recently, kind of getting back to the form that we're used to seeing Klay Thompson be at. And if he continues to play up to that level, which was the big question, was Klay coming back, it was going to be a plus, 100%. Klay's just one of those guys that was always going to be a good player, but it's a question of can he get back to being that great player, that all-time level shooter, as well as a great defender. And this is a game that showed that he does still have that in him. He's a great shooter, he's clutch, he D'd up when they needed him to, and this was just a big game from Klay, and a really, really good sign for the Golden State Warriors going forward, because if Klay can return to all-star level form, this Warriors team is super scary in the playoffs. So big game from Klay Thompson. This was super fun to watch. This one had like a playoff atmosphere to it. Whenever LeBron James or a LeBron James team plays the Golden State Warriors, it just feels super big, and I think that's because of the many finals matchups from years ago. But even still, like with the Christmas Day games, just it seems like whenever LeBron faces the Warriors, it's a classic game, and so this was no exception to that rule. Just an all-around great game, super fun to watch, and I'm excited to head down the stretch and see more of these playoff atmosphere type games. Moving on from that one, we had the Philadelphia 76ers in their last game before James Harden takes the court for the first time against the Celtics, I believe on Tuesday, beating the Cleveland Cavaliers by 10 points. The Cavaliers are a great defense. They couldn't stop Joel Embiid. He had a 40-point triple-double, which was the first one since Wilt Chamberlain, I think in the 70s, maybe even the 60s. I want to say the 70s, but it was a very long time ago, is all you really need to know. 40, 14, and 10, efficient, playing great defense. It's what Joel Embiid has been doing all season, looking like one of the best players in the entire world. My current leading MVP candidate, if you ask me right now. Joel Embiid is doing everything this team needs him to do, and he's getting James Harden to help out and take some of that load off him, which is huge. huge. Embiid can put up these big numbers on any given night, but it's going to be super critical going into the playoffs when they really key in on Joel Embiid to have that secondary option in James Harden, a guard that can both give him great entry passes, who can catch and shoot the three. And if Joel Embiid is kind of having an off night, which he very rarely ever does, right now he scored, I think, 25 plus points in 23 straight games as of tonight, which is a couple off of Allen Iverson's 76ers record, which is with 27, I'm pretty sure. So Embiid is on a crazy scoring tear. So even though he doesn't really have off nights, you do need to have a secondary scoring option in the NBA playoffs, and James Harden is going to give them exactly that. So he's going to take some of that load off Joel Embiid, which I think will be huge going forward. On the Cavs side of things, Darius Garland kind of carried them tonight with 27 points. LeVert had kind of an off night. Jarrett Allen got sent to the Shadow Realm on a poster dunk by Joel Embiid, which was insane. Not a great game from Mobley either. A fine one. He had 11 and 8. But all around, the Cavs just weren't able to get much going against the super high-powered Sixers team. Thibault had 6 steals. It's just the Sixers are really on a roll, and they're adding James Harden as well. They're going to be a really fun team to watch going forward. Next, the Oklahoma City Thunder, my favorite team, if you couldn't, not that side, this side, if you couldn't tell. Josh Giddey had a triple-double for the Thunder, his second one ever. He's now both the first and second youngest player to record a triple-double in NBA history. Lou Dort had 31 points. Darius Bazley had a 17-8-5, 2-steal, 3-block game, which was amazing. He's really come along so great on the defensive end. Now, he didn't shoot well in this one. I believe he was like 7 for 21, which is not what you want to see. But ideally, when Shea comes back and kind of when we're trying to compete, Bazley won't need to take that many shots. And so while he didn't shoot super efficiently today, I don't think that's much of a problem. What's super promising, though, is his defense. He blocked a DeMar DeRozan mid-range in this game, which was super cool to watch. I posted the highlight on my Twitter if you want to go see it. But just the way that he's really been locking up, had really big plays defensively down the stretch of games. I love the way that Bazley has been playing as of recently, and it's super fun to watch him grow on that defensive end. I think that is going to be the calling card of him his entire career, and if he can continue to be that defensive stopper, I think that's huge for this Thunder team going forward. That currently is a top 10 defense in the NBA, so that's awesome. On the Chicago Bulls side of things, the reason they won this one was because of DeMar DeRozan, 38, 6, and 5, along with Vucevic, 31 and 15. DeRozan is just one of those guys where you cannot stop him from scoring this season if he decides he wants to score. He's good. I know he's going to take a mid-range. The whole team knows he's going to take a mid-range. Every fan in attendance knows he's going to take a mid-range, and it doesn't really even matter. He's still going to manage to sink it. DeRozan has been unstoppable. It's been one of my favorite NBA storylines this season. He scored 35-plus points in multiple straight games now, which is super impressive. He just continues to build an MVP case, an all-NBA first-team case, and it's super cool to see what he's doing for this Bulls team, who, despite being shorthanded, continue to ball out, have big games. Ayo Dosunmu had 12, 8, and 9 in this one as well, so shout out to him, going for a triple-double. Just a super fun game to watch, and once again, multiple great performances on both sides. The Nuggets beat the Raptors 110-109. Nikola Jokic had a 28, 15, and 6 game, including a game-winning block, which is just the stuff that Jokic does. Incredible stuff from him. He continues to be a super dominating factor, even against a Raptors team that has been phenomenal defensively. They really could not stop Jokic when he needed to score. Pascal Siakam had 35, 10, and 7. He's building an all-NBA case very quickly. Personally, for me, he is on an all-NBA team if I had to pick them right now. He's been having a phenomenal season that I feel like has kind of flown under the radar somewhat. I know a lot of people are talking about it, but I feel like more people could. I don't know. I just don't feel like it's getting enough national hype, the way that he's been dominating offensively, playing great defense. I've said this in my Raptors video previously, but I love the way they're using him as a small ball center. It's super fun to watch the way that this Raptors team plays, and despite losing this one, it was a big effort for them. And Siakam just continues to have great performances. All-star Fred VanVleet with 25, 5, and 5. All of the starters playing big minutes as they have been, but it's working. They're playing really good basketball right now, and this Raptors team is not only fun to watch, but they're actually like scary out there in the Eastern Conference right now in a playoff spot, not even the play-in tournament. They're the 6th seed right now, so Siakam and VanVleet continue to bring them up and just continue to play great basketball. We had the Dallas Mavericks play the Los Angeles Clippers. I know we're talking about a lot of games. There were a lot of great performances. Luka Doncic in this one had a crazy game, 45, 15, and 8. He scored 50 last game against the Clippers. So Luka just kind of hates the Clippers, and I'm not quite sure why. Maybe it's because of the playoff exits, but for some reason, Luka hates the Los Angeles Clippers, and this was one of those games where they could not stop him from scoring. It was not enough, though. The Clippers kind of as a team. Zubac had 11, 10, and 6, 24 from Reggie Jackson, 21 from Terrence Mann. And what was all around a really good game from the Clippers as a team, as they've been doing all season, continue to stay afloat and continue to fight in that play-in tournament kind of area. We'll see if they can kind of stay in there or if they continue to fall off. But for right now, they did get these couple big wins over the Mavericks over the last couple days to keep themselves afloat. Moving on from that one, the Portland Trailblazers beat the New York Knicks 112-103. Anthony Simons had a phenomenal game with 30 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists. Nurkic had 12, 20, and 6. And this Blazers team is super fun to watch. Josh Hart had a great game too with 23 points. The Knicks really blew this one. They were outscored 35-11 in the fourth quarter, which, if you're keeping track at home and you do math, is over 3 times as many points for the Blazers as it was for the Knicks. The Knicks entered the fourth quarter up 14 and lost by 9, which is horrible. The Knicks continued to have a rough season after their season last year. They didn't make any moves at the deadline, so we'll see kind of how things pan out for the Knicks in the second half of the season. But this was a big win for a Blazers team that did just deal off a ton of pieces, but they continue to play fun. They continue to play hard basketball, and it was just a fun team effort. Simons really is that guy, the way that he's been playing this season. It makes sense why the Blazers wanted to trade CJ McCollum and give Anthony Simons kind of the keys to that shooting guard position. I'm excited to see this new version of him unleashed next to Damian Lillard in this upcoming season. Whenever Damian Lillard comes back, I think that'll be super fun to watch. But for right now, Simons continues to kind of carry. Moving on, only a couple more games. The Charlotte Hornets and the Memphis Grizzlies played. The Grizzlies really ran away with this one early, but the Hornets really stormed back, outscoring the Grizzlies by 17 points in the fourth quarter, losing by 7. John Morant with 26, 6, and 6, 25 from Desmond Bane. On the Hornets side of the ball, Terry Rozier had a 35-point, 10 rebound, 9 assists game, 25, 4, and 2 for All-Star LaMelo Ball, 20 and 9 for Montrezl Harrell. This was just a super fun game. Like, there were a couple noticeable performances, but I kind of just wanted to mention this one as one that was pretty fun to watch. For the Kings and the Wizards, De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis keep having this nice synergy as a duo, with Sabonis putting up 16, 11, and 7, and Fox putting up 26 points. I've really liked what I've seen from the two of them up to this point, and I'm excited to kind of see how they keep running things. I love the way that Sabonis has played as kind of like this point forward, kind of in like a Draymond Green type role, where he does a lot of dribble handoffs, he handles the ball a bit more, and I really like the way they're using him. I hope they continue to kind of do stuff like that. If they had more shooters, I think they would be an even better team. But for right now, I have enjoyed a lot what I've watched from them, and I hope this continues to be a fun Kings team to watch down the stretch. And finally, the last game is the Spurs and the Pelicans game. You had DeJounte Murray put up a 31.7 rebound, 12 assist game. I believe he's had 4 turnovers and over 50 assists in his last few games, which is ridiculous. CJ McCollum had 36, 11, and 5, but it was not enough for a Pelicans team that continues to really miss Zion Williamson. This was a pretty big game for the Pelicans, who are trying to make the play-in tournament with the acquisition of CJ McCollum, because the San Antonio Spurs are right there with them, kind of in that sphere. So this was a big loss for them and a big win for the Spurs, who continue to kind of get things done, play really hard, and DeJounte Murray, the recent first-time All-Star, continues to ball out. So, those are my thoughts on all those games today. Let me know what you thought about the games today. What was your favorite performance? Like I said, there were a lot of really big ones. Just kind of a big showcase of how much talent there really is in the NBA. I appreciate y'all watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you all later. Real one, say it back.